Hi, I'm here with Rusty Branch. We're interviewing regarding a disability podcast. And Rusty, first of all, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do for Innis Hotels?
Yeah, so it's Innisfree Hotels, and I am the Vice President of Community Engagement. So I'm the corporate social responsibility part of the organization. We actually, some years ago, centered our organization on John Elkington's triple bottom line, people, planet, profits. And so we use the profits from the hotel businesses that we operate to make positive impacts on the planet and with people. So I get to be the people and the planet portion of that.
That's awesome. So is Innis Hotels a nonprofit?
Yeah, so Innisfree Hotels is not a nonprofit. It's a for-profit organization company. But we have a nonprofit philanthropic arm that we call the Hive Foundation. And so it's through the Hive that we're able to really take those profits from operating hotels and restaurants, and we pour those back into the community. Our founders, Kim and Julian McQueen, years ago decided that they wanted to make a difference, to leave a legacy. And so they take profits that otherwise would go into their pockets and they give them back to the community through the Hive Foundation.
That's amazing. What, tell me more about Innisfree's The Hive. What does The Hive do?
Yeah, so it is a nonprofit private foundation that seeks to really give back in three ways. One, we want to educate vulnerable communities. And so we support a school, a voucher program school. We support a program called Parent University. Then we want to not just educate vulnerable communities, but to equip marginalized people. That's where our work around disability employment and disability advocacy comes into play. We also advocate for individuals who find themselves perhaps incarcerated and they're unable to afford bail to get out, to get back to their families and their work. So we seek to equip those marginalized people. And then finally, the Hive focuses on enriching food options. So in our community, there's a lot of food insecurity. And so we seek to partner through, we have a community garden. We do excess food from our restaurants and hotels that we give back. So we have an excess food program. So we want to educate, we want to equip, and we want to enrich.
So you say our community, where are you located?
Yeah, so our community, our home base is in the Pensacola, Florida area. But really we have hotels along the Florida Panhandle. We have hotels along the Atlantic coast in Florida and as far away as New Orleans and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So we have 23 hotels we operate right now, own and operate, and then 10 restaurants in addition to that.
Is the Hive specific to Innisfree, or is it other companies as well?
No, it is specific to Innisfree. It is the philanthropic arm of Innisfree Hotels. And it is funded fully from Kim and Julian McQueen, the founders and owners of Innisfree Hotels. And so we don't seek to raise funds outside of that. We seek to use those dollars that they've contributed to the Hive to give back to the community.
Wonderful. So what inspired you to take this job?
Yeah, so I was a social worker by trade and spent some years working in disability employment, being an advocate. And at some point, the opportunity came to get into the hotel business to do this work for Mr. and Ms. McQueen and for Innisfree Hotels. And I had been on the other side, always advocating for help, right? I needed someone to give us a grant. I needed someone to employ the people we were representing. And I saw the opportunity to get on the other side of that, to give back, to really support those programs or contribute to the funding sources that the programs I used to help operate or be a part of. So I saw that opportunity and it was real enticing. And also around my work around disability employment, oftentimes came down to just, folks needing job opportunities. And in Florida, in the hospitality industry, there are just various opportunities that people of all abilities can do. And so I saw there being an opportunity for me to advocate from this side to employ more persons with disabilities. So it was a great fit, and the culture at Innisfree is wonderful. The founders are wonderful people who want to truly impact. They don't just want to write a check; they want to get involved. And so all that appealed to me.
That's really inspiring. On that exact note, I'm curious about Project Search. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
Project Search.
Yeah, so actually that's an interesting segue, because in my previous work, Project Search was one of the programs that I was a part of. And so again, we were always looking for folks to employ us, and we had some success with that. And then we had a few lean years where we couldn't really find employers that would let us come in and operate Project Search. And so what Project Search is it's run through the school system in most counties in the state of Florida, and I'm sure it's elsewhere, but I'm most familiar with Florida. And they find employers that would say, yeah, we'll let your students come here. And these are all students with disabilities, and they get job experience, real world work experience, right? And so when I got to Innisfree Hotels, that was one of the first programs I advocated for. And then we had another employee here who used to work for the university, which was a Project Search site. And she began advocating as well. So it was a couple of voices within the organization said we should do this. Our vice president of operations, Jason Nicholson, said, well, let's give it a try. We started at one hotel, and starting this year, we will now be at 5 hotels in Pensacola area. We'll be at 2 hotels in the Okaloosa County, Fort Walton Beach area. We'll be at 3 hotels in the Nassau County area, which is north of Jacksonville. And so all of a sudden, this went from one very quickly to multiple hotels across our portfolio.
Can you tell me about somebody's life who's been affected by either search or through the hive, or something that's very memorable for you, like a story that really touched you?
Yeah, well, there's so many stories, because especially with Project Search, we end up hiring many of those individuals, because when I was doing disability employment, I always said no one was ever hired for what they couldn't do, right? And so this program exposes these individuals to the opportunity to see what they can do. And when someone finds something that they're good at and they're passionate about, they become just amazing. So we had a particular young lady who was working in one of our Amelia Island hotels. And she loved to talk to people. She loved to greet. And so she did all the jobs around the hotel that you could do. But ultimately, she found her niche being at our breakfast serving area. So it's continental breakfast, and folks can, come and get their plates, but someone has to man that to make sure that things are, that there's plenty of milks in the refrigerator, that there's batter for the waffle maker. And this young lady was just amazing. She would conversate. People loved her. So as the program came to an end, it was like, not only do we want to hire, but we really couldn't not hire her, right? She had made such a difference with our guests. And so we were super excited to hire. But there's lots of those stories every year, every class, every cohort that comes through. We always end up hiring at least one, if not more. So yeah, so it's been some really neat stories just in a few years of us doing this.
It's wonderful. Awesome. It always means so much to like see an actual tangible difference in a person's life that you were connected to.
Yeah.
So my background is I represent federal employees, and I help. My passion is reasonable accommodation. So I come from a legal perspective as an attorney. I'm curious always how reasonable accommodation plays into people's backgrounds and their jobs. How does first of all, are you involved with Innisfree's reasonable accommodation in the non-hive? In the non
I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Are you involved with reasonable accommodation with Innisfree outside of like the hive portion, the entire business, or are you just involved hive or?
Yeah, so I'm not our operations would obviously for guests for we have a development department that we're ADA compliant, and certainly we would be going as an organization who's very involved. Our one of our founder, Kim McQueen, her father in his early 30s went progressively blind and became a blind advocate in Canada. And so, programs like Independence for the Blind have been programs that we've historically supported even before we really began the Hive in earnest and we began to be philanthropic. That was a program that we were always supportive of. And so we have gone, above and beyond just basic ADA compliance. But that's not really my purview. My purview has been really on the side of connecting the opportunities for employment. So again, our development department ensures that our hotels and restaurants are compliant and accommodating. But then our operations would be the ones who are making sure guests are accommodated and those sorts of things.
And employees as well, I guess.
Yeah, employees, yes, obviously.
Okay, interesting. All right, so two more questions. Number one, I want you to tell me a book or something that inspired you in your life that you would recommend to other people that would inspire them.
Yeah. Well, lots of things have inspired me, but in terms of this kind of work, Marcus Buckingham's Go Put Your Strengths to Work is a book that I came across some years ago and really dove into that from a job carving, finding your own passions, finding your own strengths work. And then as I began to work with an organization that employed persons with disabilities, it was such a match, right? Because that's good business. And I think I mentioned this in the article, but it's good business sense to find what people are passionate about and good at and put them to work in that area, right? They're more satisfied. The retention is higher, those sorts of things. And so I began seeing that book played out with the job carving and the accommodations that would go on with the employees with disabilities that we were employing. Because again, we didn't hire them for what they couldn't do. We found what they could do and we put them to work. And so I think what Buckingham is talking about in that book, and he's gone on to expand that since then. And as a matter of fact, right now he has there's a HBR, Harvard Business Review, IdeaCast, their podcast. He has a 3-segment piece on there where he's talking about this. So it's really good stuff. But that book talked about how to find your passion and put your passion to work, and how that helps you, how it helps the employer, the business that you're working for. And we see that with persons with disabilities. They're happier when they find that place where they can excel. They're accepted. Their contribution matters. So that book was just terrific for me, and I'd recommend it highly.
Well, I've already just put it in my cart on Amazon in the background, just so you know. Okay, final question. I loved this statement that you made, and I want you to tell me a little bit about it. You said you would love to start a movement of great appreciation for the mundane. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, everybody lives for the weekend, right? Man, it's Friday. I'm so glad. And I always tell people, well, it's not better than Tuesday, but it's pretty good, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? I think so. When I was a little boy, 9 years old, my grandmother came home from the hospital. I wasn't sure why she was there. I didn't get to go. But she came home and she was a double amputee. She'd had diabetes and had some health concerns. And so I spent most of my formative childhood years seeing, my grandmother do things and accomplish things with a significant disability, at her age, becoming a double amputee from the knee down. And so, when I talk about mundane, it's just to celebrate the simple things, right? To celebrate being able to go to work. I think it was G.K. Chesterton that said, God gave me 2 legs. I can celebrate that. Just like I would celebrate Christmas morning and opening presents or whatever. And I think we miss that. And so we miss so much happiness in our life. We miss the miraculous that goes on around us all the time. And so if I could get people to begin to see just the worthiness in simple tasks, I think we all want to we're the heroes of our own stories, right? And I've heard it said that we all want to save the world, but nobody wants to help mom with the dishes. Well, if we saw the value of helping mom with the dishes, then in the joy in those moments, the joy of changing a diaper, right? And how that's contributing to the next generation. I don't know, just appreciating the everyday mundane, I think, instead of waiting for that big vacation or that big accomplishment in life, I think we would see so much more happiness. And one of my favorite authors and speakers is Dennis Prager. And he wrote a book that happiness is a problem, right? And so on his radio show, he used to have the happiness hour every week. He would say, come hell or high water, we're going to talk about happiness. And to me, that's it, right? It's the quality of life. It's the quality of our experiences and how we are with one another. And most of that is lived out in sort of the mundane, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday life. And if we celebrated that, I think this would be a different world.
That's beautiful. It's funny now you say that. I think I grew up in Los Angeles, and growing up a big Dodger fan, listened to Vin Scully. And Vin Scully was very, very famous for knowing not when to speak, knowing when not to speak.
Yeah.
And you said some of the most beautiful words I've heard in a long time. There's nothing I can say other than that you truly inspired me. And I really want to appreciate you for taking the time today. I'm super excited to get this podcast out there and to let the world hear what you had to say. I want to thank you for taking the time.
Well, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for your work. And thank you for highlighting things like Project Search, because these are simple little programs, but they're life-changing for the individuals that get to engage with them. And I can tell you, for our employees, for the people of Innisfree, it's life-changing for us as well, because we see folks overcome so much, and come to work and do a great job. And it's inspiring. So thank you for highlighting this, and best of luck to you in rolling this out and getting this going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.